All right, so we're up to the second paragraph, the final paragraph of Veheisir Gimel, yeah? So what is he saying? He's saying that the whole ishtalshelus is made in such a way that Maishe chashech v'hodam v'hayra, first tzimtzum and then the giboy, and therefore there's and the roshim of the oir remains. So therefore there's this constant longing factored into ishtalshelus at every lower level for its source, for the higher level. That the ''tשכ" that he said, the longing of the ''תשכ," the black fire, and the thirst to the white fire. So let's continue. Just like the general ishtalshelus, so the ''תשכ," which he said is oil, it's fire. ''תשכ," the intent is to illuminate the darkness. There should be a hergish, in a sense, in where likus is concealed, that this is not the reality. This is not the reality concealment. The reality is the Eibishter, not where he is, not the sense of self. And the desire to overcome that and to illuminate the darkness, that's the ''תשכ." So in the same way, the ''תשכ," the Prince ''Eish." So therefore, there's this constant desire for the white fire, which we explained, is the Seir of Kalalmin. So in the same way that is in general where ishtalshelus emerges. In other words, what's implicit here also is there's a tzimtzum or kipshuta. There was a real tzimtzum, a real helen. Then there's no longing, there's no desire. Finished. The reality is godliness is not. So if godliness is not chas v'shalom, then there's no desire for it because it's not in that world. It's not in that world. This is b'chal, this is the basic beer, or at least related. Why the Eibishter can do anything, just went from not go from atzmus to tacht to elam hazeh. Who needs the whole seder ishtalshelus? The Eibishter can do anything. This whole elaborate process, which has all of profoundly, quote unquote, logical, that's the point of it, but who needs it? The Eibishter doesn't need it. So the answer is, and there's two answers, but they're related. Answer one is, then there's no relationship with God. Either atzmos, which means bittul b'mitzias, or complete halda. Don't know he exists even, or lose all sense of self. And the truth of Enyad Muvada is just revealed. But David doesn't want that. He wants there should be a tacht, and therefore there has to be an elyon, and there should be a relationship, and we should go higher and higher and higher. So in this relationship, what he's saying is, therefore, integral to that is that tzimtzum is not kipshuta. If the tzimtzum would be chas v'shalom kipshuta, as those who misinterpreted the Adizal, because the language is so deceptively simple and implies that silikas atzmoi es oire hagodol el atzad. First, they didn't appreciate the difference between oire and him. There's a difference between his light and him. That's also a chiddush of chassidus. Atzmos is higher than oire. But they understood it literally. And again, the four shittas in the tzimtzum without repeating it. But the Alter Rebbe insists that the tzimtzum is not kipshutoi, aleph. There's no actual removal. And here's the bigger chiddush, which is negeya, not even in the oir, which means in making Hashem's presence revealed and known. That's not kipshutoi either. The reshima remains. The reshima remains means that at every level there's awareness, even in Elam Hazeh. This is not the reality. There's something higher. And there's a longing for something higher. And at every level there's higher. This is not the truth. The fact that I feel, to whatever degree independent, the higher you go in ishtalshelus, the more that that shrinks, but still this sense of self. In all of Ishtalshalos, there is this longing for no. The Oir, Hashem's revelation carries with it, what's Hashem? That the truth of his existence, of higher and higher and higher till Atzmos. That's the source of all illness. The source of all illness is, what's illness? The matzav, the way it is no good. And the person pines and longs for life. He wants to feel alive. Doesn't feel alive, doesn't feel energetic. There's he's still essentially alive, but it's not manifested. The life force is not the gola in the guf. That's what illness is, that there's some disconnect in terms of the giloi. That's when the neshama is there. The nefesh, even the nefesh is obviously there. The person is alive when he's ill. But what's happening in terms of giluyim, it's not manifested. Energy is not revealed. There's some breakdown between keli and oil. And the whole body is this state of wanting, longing for life. That's because Beruchnius, that's how the Eibishter made life. Eibishter made life where there's concealment, there's this sense of no, what is good, missing, it's not the truth, and the longing for the higher level. Let's continue. So here the third line then of this final paragraph. Every level after the tzimtzum is this union of the longing, the tzimoyim of the eish levana to the eish chayda to the eish levana. The lower level is always longing for the higher level. Why? Again, let's make it very clear, because throughout the whole descent, the Eir HaKav as it descends, what's carried in the Eir HaKav is not literal tzimtzum, goodbye. It's not kipshutoi, and therefore this is the rishima concept, the trace of the impression, the truth the Eir HaKav carries with it throughout is that what? That gvul is a keich of the Eibishter, and so is keich HaBli gvul. And the gvul doesn't, per se, you don't know and feel that. But the keich HaBli gvul, the Eir, is also present. The light of it, the awareness is present that there's higher and higher. The tzimtzum is only in the sense that it's not revealed, but the presence is present. Here we are talking about all these madregas. It's present, and because it's present, and it's where we come from, there is a longing for it. There's not a fundamental disconnect, only in terms of Giluya Mamish. But there's no real disconnect. As he says further, so this thing, first the tzimtzum, and then comes the oir. Is to say the ishtalshalos. It's in all of the levels of say the ishtalshalos. So they're all threaded, they're all connected, and there's always this, not you've arrived, this higher. Maamor, a simple mashal of Rav the Talmud. The Talmud gets only the letters of the seichel. Now, does he stop there? No, he knows, he senses from the get-go that there's much more here. But right now he's got the Isius. But right away there's this sense carried in the words and letters that the Rav says that there's a deep seichel here that keeps on working for 40 years to unravel. And then he understands. First, here's the letters, the words. Then he understands the simple meaning. And then the depth. So after 40 years, he finally plumbs and grasps the idea as his master had expressed it. Why isn't he satisfied with every level? Because every level carries with it, this is only a garment. Behind here, there's a deeper source, it's higher. The truth of it is beyond this level, and therefore propels the student to ascend ever higher and understand it. Is that clear? Basically. Now there is a good gam l'maylo. So likewise, the language is deceptively simple. We need to break our heads to understand, the inyan, in the words of the Baditch actually, Kedushas Levi. It's also a Lashon Chassidus. When I was 13, I used to learn Kedushas Levi. Should learn it again. Now there is a likewise l'mayla. The first experience is keli gvul. That doesn't stop it. And then there's the realization, because it's present but not revealed, that there's an oyer tachten. That engenders the awareness that the oyer comes from the oyer, which is lifnei tzimtzum. So this natural connection to a fluid connection to the levels that precede, because the tzimtzum is not literal. The oyer even is not a literal tzimtzum in the oyer. Revelation is high levels of revelation. Therefore, at every level, there is the longing for the level above it. Where is this most pronounced? To be ikir or besfiris and malchus. Malchus has the greatest longing because of the greatest heaven. Because it's the lowest level. It's the word. It's mamish, the hardcore keli. There's no oyer, relatively speaking, there at all. So the longing there is greatest. Like right now, it's getting lighter and lighter. When I first walked into the room, like it's pitch black. And so I want the light, but now I wanted light. My desire for the light, as the sun is rising, is diminishing. It's light. We got to make peace with it. But when it was dark, when I walked in, the desire for light was much stronger. So Malchus, which is in complete Helen, Hashem's word and speech, and the word itself, that's mamish the eish chayr, the white, the black letters. So there, the tzimoin is the greatest. Shabohu goydlak shukavat tzimoin, Malchus is the greatest longing. Shazel, this is the meaning, and that's what the Zayr is referring to. We quoted earlier. The lower light is always calling the Nahida Ilah to the supernal, the higher light, and is not stilled or silenced. The Kiev and Shpunis HaMalchus is Bein HaRosh, because Malchus is Bein HaRosh to revelations. It's already hardcore description, it's words, letters. And it's incomparable to oil, but there's the sense of that there is oil. Therefore, it's not a piece. It needs it. Malchus understands very, very powerfully that it's eclipsing Hashem's presence. He's here, but concealed in this word, in the divine speech, as it were. And therefore, the longing is beifin shel todir b'li hefsek. It's continuous and without and uninterrupted, because there's no oir, relatively speaking. And not silence. Interesting. It cannot be calmed and quietened. Her in Yiddish, we can gar nicht beruhigen und einstellen. We cannot. It's a beautiful language here. We cannot calm her and quiet her. It's to be appreciated, of course, that the Rebbe himself and our generation there actually is Malchus. So our longing for Mashiach and our longing for revelation, following the great concealment of the generation we just followed, terrible concealment, is the greatest. Fact is, the tshuva movement, which is tzimoyin and longing, is unique to our generation. Not previous generations. They had some oil, so it was okay. The shtetl was a bit of a holy place. You wanted holiness. You went to shul. It was right there. It was your world. Everybody's connected to it to one degree or another. There was the Baba and the Zayda. There was Giluyim. But our generation of complete Choshech, the Tzimoin is the greatest. The Choshech, not just, the Holocaust, but the Choshech B'chlal of the Ruchnius and spirituality. So therefore, that engenders, that's the Rebbe's generation, the Rashvi, the deepest thirst and therefore the deepest connection. And the thirst is not, as he goes to the Sefer Giluim in the end, but for Atzmus. Let's continue now. Is Daled. So this love sickness, as it were, that is Malchus. Nimshach Gam. So this expresses itself in a person's love sickness. Neshamas Yisrael come from Malchus. That's the Shechina, the indwelling of Alikus in our world, in our bodies. That's the Neshama. So this engenders the great thirst, the longing and thirst for godliness, because he understands, he senses and grasps how far he is. The more he understands, according to the pasuk here, he's not satisfied with the matzav. And not satisfied simply with 1 level up or 10 levels or 100 levels up. The more he ascends in his understanding of the truth of Alikus, he realizes how distant he is. So the eye is not being satisfied. The eye is a metaphor for Seichel. The more he understands his richuk, the more he ascends in his hasoga, the more he understands, the more the thirst, the less he's satisfied. When Mele Godly, the way he understands the truth of Alikus, the more he longs to be connected. When Mele Godly, ever greater is the longing and the thirst. Kolkach Godla Chukosin, so great is his longing. Adjenechlam is it. Become sick. Chaylas Ava, love sick. Derech Mashakosov, Moishe says about Moishe Rabbeinu, Dafkin Amatziv, of after Cheta Ego, so Vayachal Moishe. The Gemara says, brings many meanings to that word, and one of them is Shachazul Chayli. From simple pshat, he began to entreat Hashem, but Vayachal also Lashon Chayli, he was grass, he seized with illness, with sickness, over the terrible Yerida, terrible descent. He is grasped what has happened to him in Cheta Igel, and how far Yidden, as it were, have removed themselves from the Eibishter, and the longing there for the intense longing to be connected, to connect them. He's sick over the matzav of Yidden, not his own matzav. For Inyan, what the matter is, again, this is, right, we're all familiar with this from h't'chk. In the Yedua, Shechoyle, the Gematria Memtes, the Gematria 49. And Sheyeshle Memtes Shari Binda, he has 49 levels of understanding. So the understanding is B'Shleimos V'Chosle Raksharamun, and he's missing only the 50th level. That's why it's called a Chayla. What's the problem? You're just missing 1 level. Why are you so sick? Why are you pining? Even though 49 levels of Binah is a very high level, moreover, it's the highest level that a person can reach on his own. It's level 49. That's the problem. These are the levels that he's reaching and grasping, but he knows that the emes is beyond this grasp. Since he's missing the 50th level. They call him Teshiyorim. Even in a matzav where he has all 49, and the gam made loy ha'or sharanun. He has a ha'or of the 50th level. So he has a shaykhus to the true bligvul. There's a glimmer, a revelation of the Sharanun, as it's appreciated and illuminates the 49 levels. He has that, he's still sick. But he elaborates what that is. That's Chachma as it illuminates Bina. And it says in Sefer Yetzirah. V'chakeim bebina means that the level of Chachma, the Nakud of Chachma, should then descend and illuminate Bina. The simple level that the elaboration of the Seichel doesn't lose sight of the original Nakuda.
Rabbi,
yeah,
is this still in Malchus? We're talking about how because Malchus is the lowest down, that's the real truth, right? So
yeah, kind of. Well, Malchus means the Neshama Lamata, basically. So the Neshama Lamata has this understanding of the Mem Teshari Bina as a connection to Bina, a connection even to Chachma. Chachma illuminates Bina, but the Etzem of Chachma, it's bound up with Atik and Atzmus, still eludes the Neshama. That overt connection, he pines, he's sick. Yeah. So what's he missing? After the brackets there, in other words, because he still feels he's a Metzias, that's his problem. He can't escape his own Metzias. And that means at the end of the day, he's a hell of a hester on the truth of Einid Mulvada. That's the illness. So that's the Etzem Sharanun is Atik, is where Atzmos, the absolute exclusivity of the Eibishter, nothing else is manifest. This he can't have as long as he's bound up to his Metzias with all his Havana Vasaga. He can talk about it. Ha'ara, that's the Ha'ara. The Ha'ara is that he can say the words, the truth, it is so. And to some degree, and through Avodah, live it. But the Etzem of Chachma, to lose self completely, this he's unable to do, and therefore he's sick. He's sick and tired of himself. As Manas Friedman says, when do you know when you're ready for marriage? When you look in the mirror, you're no longer fascinated with yourself. You look at, this is, you again? Then you're ready for someone else in your life. When you're bored, this is stronger than bored. This is like sick and tired of me already. That's the emes of Chelis Ava. As he goes on to say, so he's Chelis Ava, even if he has the order of Bina. And for sure, he doesn't even have the order of Chachma. And he's still not much bound up in his subjective understanding, which is Bina. Escape my subjectivity already. When I know the truth on truth terms. Bina alone is understanding. So if he's only locked in Bina, doesn't even have the order of Chachma, for sure he's sick and tired of this. In the Liyah, tired may be the wrong word. It's not fed up. It's this beetle. In the Liyah Shekalolos, because understanding is Bakbola. If it's Bakbola, it means I'm a hell of a hester. I'm concealing the truth. Therefore, he's longing for the truth, for the etzem, in the face of which everything is one, an old sense of independence dissolves. That's what he's longing for. That's Sharanun begins the Iya. Sharanun is seeing Elikos, the truth. Shal Yoda Horoyas Etzem. He sees the Etzem, Adraba, Kechol Shemasid Yesa. Continuing the Simoy. So on the contrary, Kol Kechol Shemasid Yesa, the more he understands, it's in Bina. He's understanding. He realizes how far he is from the truth. The more he understands the emes of Enyan Mavadi, the more he realizes that his yeshes is the contrary. The more he understands that the etzem beyond all giluyim, shegam begilim ayosel yoinim the ganedna alien, even the highest revelations from the alien in the essence of likus is not expressed. It's all compromise. Therefore, the highest levels he's longing. Where does it end? Nowhere. Only in Atzmos. And I'm sure you'd expect him to say this now, and he does. Like Al Rebbe was heard to say, it's a Matzedek writes in Derech Mitzvisecha. Shesh Mitzvah Tefillah brings out 23. That Al Rebbe was heard to say during his dveikus in Tefillah, he would say, simple meaning, who is for me in heaven? I even forgot the simple pshat. That is, which is with you, I do not desire on earth. That explained that the highest Shemayim is Gan Eden Elyon, and the Oretz is Gan Eden Atachten, and even that which is with you, but not you, he doesn't want. I don't want you Gan Eden Atachten, I don't want you Gan Eden Elyon, Tzedal Rebbe, only you alone. That could never say that without his voice breaking. God love was and so great is his love. His loves. So maybe she's going to leave us in this state. No. The Eitzah and the Eitzah to this thirst is Commissioner Kosov. Beginning of this pasuk, for I am lovesick, begins with some chuni, ba'ashishu, support me. He says that what it means with food. She's fainting. I need food and drink. Food and drink. But if duni betapuchim, surround me or wrap me with apples with aroma. Means opposite. Because I am lovesick. What's the union here of the ashishus and the tapuchim and the apples? Ashishus and Michael, it's food. Now the Pirish there is wine, drink. And tapuchim ureach is aroma. Aroma. Apple is the symbol of a pleasant aroma, right? When Yaakov walked into Yitzchak, he said, "See, my son he brings with him the aroma of apples." Chakal tapuchim kadishin, the field of holy apples. We talk about referred to in Kiddush on Shabbos. So what are the two in Yonim? Of food and drink and the aroma of the apple. That's Torah mitzvah. So that means Torah mitzvah, which is learning and doing. That's Michael. That's food. To one degree or another, person takes in himself an opinion. It's like food. Rabbi did tshuva, and the second avodah here is the avodah of tshuva re'ach, aroma. Now he brings here re'ach boigdav. This is again the aroma of the clothing that Yitzchak smells when Yaakov comes in. So beged means a garment, but the word beged also means treachery. Beged is to be treacherous. Why? Because a garment conceals. A person can say words that are lies and dress up in garments that are not him. The power of tshuva is to transform the treachery. So that's the aroma. Re'ach begdov, the aroma. It's a koyach makif, a transcendent and powerful koyach that can transform the negativity. We follow that, beged and begdov, yes? So he says through answers, Torah and mitzvahs, bechlal and be'ika through tshuva, that through this, the neshama connects to atzmus. And slates That's the word. His thirst. So the thirst of a Yid for Atzmos is quenched. In what? In Torah mitzvahs and in Tshuva. That's what she says. Support me. She's fainting with ashishus, with the food and drink, and surround me, embrace me, surround me. She's on a sick bed. Put around the bed the fragrant apples. That's the inyan of Tshuva. Okay? To be continued by Hashem tomorrow.